What happens when a CEO grabs a broom and starts sweeping floors, only to overhear a supervisor calling a sick employee a burden? Quentin Saunders stood in the back of a dusty supply closet, tugging on a faded gray polo and khakis 2 sizes too big. The mirror on the wall was cracked, but it didn't matter. He barely recognized himself. The fake beard helped. So did the dyed hair and glasses. Nobody would guess he was the man who bought this cleaning service chain 7 years ago, expanding it from 5 locations to 19 across the state. He hadn't met most of the staff personally, especially at the smaller branches. This one store 13, a janitorial hub in a mid-sized city, was one of those. Just another dot on a spreadsheet until the customer satisfaction scores started dipping. Then 2 long-time clients canceled their contracts in 1 month. Quentin decided to go see it himself. He used a fake name Leo. Said he was a new recruit sent from corporate to train. Nobody questioned it. The manager here, a guy named Russ, barely looked at him when he arrived. Just barked, "Clock in and grab a broom." Quentin did. Sweeping the lobby entrance felt strange at first, but there was something grounding about it. The smell of lemon cleaner. The scrape of the broom on tile. The way customers walked past without a glance. It reminded him why he bought the company in the first place. A woman named Wendy, mid-30s, brown curls tied back, kind eyes. She was the only one who introduced herself. "Hey, Leo, right?" she said, adjusting the strap of her mop bucket. "You're on entrance duty? You need gloves. I got an extra pair." She handed him a pair, without waiting for a reply. "Thanks," Quentin said, surprised. "You always this nice to the new guy?" Wendy laughed. "Only the ones who don't act like they know everything." She was fast, efficient, and always moving. She even wiped down the door handles without being told. Over the next 2 hours, she helped Quentin fix the water cooler, showed him how to refill the sanitizer dispensers, and told him which mop heads didn't shed. She was sharp. Midway through the shift, Quentin needed to empty the dustpan. The dumpster was around the back, near the employee break area. As he rounded the corner, voices floated over the fence. "And that's the 3rd time this month she's called out," Russ's voice growled. "Yeah, but she's got lupus, right?" Another voice said lower. "I don't care if she's got a damn unicorn flu," Russ snapped. "She's a burden. We can't keep covering for her. If she doesn't quit soon, I will make her life hell until she does." Quentin froze, dustpan in hand. Wendy's voice cut in, quieter. "She's trying, Russ. She's not lazy, she gets sick." "Not my problem. I need people who show up." "That's it," he said, coldly. Footsteps approached. Quentin ducked behind the dumpster, heart thudding. Later, back inside, Quentin watched Russ strut through the hallway like he owned the place, ordering people around, never lifting a finger. Wendy kept her head down, but she looked tense, her kindness dulled. Quentin walked over. "Hey, that Wendy lady. She's been helping me a lot." "She's too soft," Russ said without looking up. "You'll learn. This place eats soft people." Quentin didn't answer. He just nodded and returned to sweeping the entrance, but his stomach twisted. He stayed until closing, mopping the lobby alongside Wendy. She offered him a ride home. He declined. "You did all right today," she said with a tired smile. "Don't let Russ get to you. He's rough, but this job wears people down." "Thanks," Quentin said. "You really care about the people here, huh?" Wendy looked at him, confused. "Of course I do. It's not just floors and toilets. It's people." That night, Quentin sat in his rental car outside the motel and stared at the steering wheel. He thought of the girl Russ called a burden. He didn't know her name yet, but he would. And tomorrow, he'd dig deeper. He wasn't leaving until things changed. Quentin arrived earlier the next morning, just after 6. The sky was still gray, the streets damp from an overnight drizzle. From the parking lot, He could already hear the rhythmic clatter of mop buckets being wheeled out. Inside, the lights buzzed faintly overhead. No greetings this time. Everyone moved with the kind of quiet urgency that came from knowing they were already behind. He found Wendy in the back hallway, kneeling with a wrench in hand, trying to tighten a loose sink pipe. Her sleeves were rolled up, and her gloves were already stained. "Hey," Quentin said, crouching next to her. "Need a hand?" She glanced at him briefly.
"Morning."
"You know how to hold a flashlight." He did, and she nodded a quick thanks as she leaned in to realign the pipe. "Plumber was supposed to show yesterday," she said.
"Didn't."
"Again. You always handle this stuff?" She shrugged. "If I don't, nobody does." Once the pipe stopped leaking, she stood, wiped her hands on a rag, and said, "You're on vents today. Top floor. Ask for Miguel, he'll show you the ladder." As she walked off, Quentin headed upstairs. The top floor was quieter, mostly unoccupied offices. He found Miguel in a utility room coiling cords. Quentin introduced himself, and Miguel gave a quick nod. A teenager, maybe 19, wiry, with dark circles under his eyes. "You're the transfer?" Miguel asked, adjusting his cap. "All right. You take vents on the east side, start by the conference rooms. I'll be on the west." They got to work. The vents hadn't been cleaned in what looked like months. Dust caked the grates, and the air smelled faintly sour. Quentin climbed the ladder, unscrewing each panel carefully. The work was tedious, but it gave him time to think. He watched Miguel from across the hall. The kid moved fast, barely pausing between tasks. At one point, he wiped sweat from his brow with his sleeve, then kept going. No water breaks, no complaints. Just motion. 2 hours later, they met near the stairwell to grab more supplies. Quentin offered him a bottle of water he'd stashed in his pocket.
"Miguel Geshetati."
"You sure?" "Yeah," Quentin said. "You've been flying." Miguel took it, drank half, then exhaled hard. "Been covering 2 shifts. Tony quit last week. Russ said if I wanted to keep my hours, I had to pick up his 2. You get overtime?" Miguel shook his head. "You still in school?" "Trying," he said.
"Nights.
"But I've missed a couple classes. My mom needs rent help. I'll figure it out." Quentin didn't say anything. He just nodded and handed over the rest of his water. Later that afternoon, while refilling paper towels in the first-floor restrooms, Quentin overheard a voice outside the stall door, sharp, dismissive. "I don't care what she told you, she's lying. She's always lying." Another voice, lower, female. "She looked pale, Russ." She was sweating. "I think she was pushing herself too hard." "And what? That's my fault." Russ snapped. "If she can't handle the job, she shouldn't be here. You want to take over her shift? Go ahead."
Doors open.
Footsteps moved away. Quentin stepped out of the restroom a moment later and saw a girl in uniform standing just outside, early 20s, arms crossed tightly, blinking fast. "You okay?" he asked softly. She didn't answer at first. Then she said, "That was about Jessie. She passed out in the supply room." "Where is she now?" "Napping in the back." Russ said to let her sleep it off and not call anyone. That stopped him cold. He followed the girl, her name tag read Dana, through the narrow hallway to a supply closet. Inside, on a thin mat of folded aprons, lay a woman curled up on her side. Her lips were dry, her breath shallow. Quentin knelt beside her. "She needs a doctor," he said.
Dana did.
"I told Russ. He said if she leaves early again, that's it." Quentin stood, jaw tight. "Stay with her. I'll be back." He found Wendy in the break area, slicing apples into a container. "Jessie passed out," he said. "She's in the closet near janitor storage. Russ told people not to call for help." Wendy's face changed instantly, the calm vanished. "Show me." They hurried down together. Wendy crouched, touched Jessie's forehead, then stood. "She's burning up." She pulled out her phone. I'm calling an ambulance.
Quentin looked at Dana.
Can you clear the hallway? We don't need eyes on her when they arrive. Dana nodded and left. Minutes later, EMTs arrived. Russ appeared then, trying to look composed. What's going on? He asked, stepping in front of them. Quentin didn't answer. He watched Wendy step between Russ and the EMTs. She fainted. You knew she wasn't well. This is on you. Russ's jaw twitched. I didn't say she couldn't call out. I just said, no, Wendy said. You said you'd make her life hell. Russ's eyes flicked to Quentin. You backing her up, new guy? Quentin stepped forward. I am. And I'm not just some new guy. He reached into his back pocket, unfolded a laminated ID, and held it up. Quentin Saunders. Founder. Owner. You've been speaking freely around me for 2 days. I've heard enough. Russ paled. For once, he had no words. Quentin turned to Wendy. Can you gather the staff in the break room? 10 minutes. She nodded and walked off. In the break room, tension hung thick in the air. Miguel leaned against the wall near the coffee machine. Dana sat stiffly at the edge of a chair. A few others stood silently, eyes darting between Quentin and Russ. Quentin stood near the counter, ID now visible on his chest.
Some of you know me.
Most of you probably don't, he began. I started this company from nothing. Back then, I scrubbed floors myself. I believed in honest work and in treating people like human beings. He looked at Russ. What I saw here these past 2 days, it shook me. Not just the conditions. Not just the way some of you are overworked. But the way you're spoken to.
Dismissed.
Devalued. He pointed to Russ. This man is no longer employed here, effective immediately. Russ opened his mouth, but Quentin cut him off. You endangered an employee's health. You discouraged medical help. You used intimidation as management. That's not leadership, that's liability. Russ turned, stormed out. No one spoke until the door closed behind him. Quentin faced the room. I need to fix this. And not with empty promises. Miguel, you told me you're covering 2 shifts without overtime. That ends now. We'll audit everyone's hours and back pay what's owed. Miguel's eyes widened, but he said nothing. Dana, thank you for speaking up. You'll have a formal role in safety oversight going forward with training and a raise. She blinked, stunned. Wendy, Quentin said, turning to her. You've been the backbone here. You'll be the new site lead, effective today. You'll have hiring authority, budget oversight, and direct access to me. Wendy looked down, then back up. That's a lot. I trust you, Quentin said simply. He looked at the group. This isn't a reset just for this branch. We're launching a real review across all locations. I started this company with the belief that no one should be invisible. I won't let it drift into something I wouldn't be proud of.
He paused.
A few of you have held this place together despite everything. That changes now. Starting today.
No aplausos.
Just silence. Then, slowly, Miguel stood straighter. Dana exhaled. Wendy gave a small nod. It was a beginning, not a fix.
Not yet.
But Quentin had seen the truth. And now he was ready to rebuild from it. The morning after Russ was removed, Quentin returned to store 13 early again, this time dressed in his usual blazer and slacks, no disguise, no fake name. The sun had barely cleared the rooftops, casting pale light across the lot. When he stepped through the side entrance, the energy inside was markedly different. Not better, not yet, but quieter. The kind of quiet that follows a storm, when everyone's waiting to see what sticks. Wendy was already in the back office, standing beside an open laptop and a half-empty coffee. The office itself was a mess, stacks of outdated safety manuals, a dry erase board with smudged markers, a clock that had stopped ticking. She looked up when Quentin entered, surprised. I thought you'd be in meetings with corporate, she said. I will be, he replied, setting down a folder. But not before we get this place functional. You're the lead now, but you're not doing it alone. She folded her arms and nodded once.
All right.
Where do we start? He opened the folder and pulled out a staffing map. You've got 17 active employees scheduled, and you're still down 2 positions. One janitor quit after Russ cut his hours without notice, and the other left 3 weeks ago with no replacement. First step is hiring. You'll screen, I'll sign off. Time cards are next. Wendy tapped the laptop. I've already started pulling them. Miguel's logged 34 extra hours this month without compensation. He's not the only one. Quentin leaned closer. I want a full audit for every employee here. Retroactive pay adjustments, no exceptions. We'll process them through HR directly. There was a knock at the door. Dana poked her head in, eyes flicking between them. Jesse's brother just called. She's awake, still in the hospital, but stable. She asked if she could keep her job. Wendy didn't hesitate. Of course she can. Quentin added, tell her not to worry about coming back until her doctor clears her. We'll pay her leave. Dana blinked, then gave a small nod and disappeared. Wendy looked at him. You're serious about all this? I didn't come here to make promises, Wendy. I came to make sure we deliver on them. She nodded slowly. Then let's keep going. The next hour was spent reviewing inventory, training schedules, and equipment requests. Quentin followed Wendy into the storage rooms, where broken vacuums leaned against the wall and mop handles were held together with duct tape. How long have these been out of commission? He asked. Some of them since spring. Russ said replacements were on order. I don't think he ever filed the requests. Quentin pulled out his phone. Send me a full list. We'll replace everything that isn't reparable within the week. As they walked back through the main floor, Miguel passed by, balancing a stack of cleaning supplies in both arms. Quentin stopped him. You got a minute? Miguel hesitated, then stepped aside. I want you to take your next shift off, Quentin said. Paid. You've been doubled up for weeks. You need a break. I appreciate it, Miguel said cautiously. But if I don't work, my mom falls behind on rent. I'll make it simple, Quentin said. Do the shift, but we're giving you a bonus to match the hours you've already worked unpaid. That's not optional, it's owed. Miguel's shoulders eased slightly. Thank you. I didn't think anyone noticed. I did, Quentin said. And so did Wendy. After he left, Wendy turned to Quentin. We're still running short. Even after hiring, we won't be fully covered for at least a week. I know, he said, which is why I'll be here again tomorrow. I can mop, scrub, refill dispensers. Whatever you need. You're the CEO, she said. And this is still my company. By early afternoon, a few of the employees gathered in the break room for lunch. The atmosphere was still subdued, no one was joking or laughing yet, but people were sitting a little straighter. Dana brought her food in a plastic container. A man Quentin hadn't met before entered quietly and sat in the corner, eating crackers and applesauce. Wendy leaned in. That's Samuel. Night shifts mostly. Doesn't talk much. Quentin crossed the room and sat beside him. Mind if I join you? Samuel shook his head, eyes on the table. I'm Quentin, he said. I know, Samuel replied quietly. Wendy told us. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Samuel said, I kept my head down, even when things got bad. I figured if I didn't cause problems, I'd keep my job. You shouldn't have had to choose between silence and employment, Quentin said. That's going to change. Samuel nodded once, then went back to his applesauce. Later that afternoon, Quentin walked the perimeter of the building, where the dumpster area was still stained from runoff and the fence leaned inward at a crooked angle. An older woman in a navy uniform was scrubbing graffiti off the sidewall with a wire brush. He stepped beside her. Need help? She didn't look up. You the one who fired Russ? I am. Good, she said. He made me clean this wall 3 times last month with the wrong solvent. Burn my hands. Quentin frowned. Did you report it? She glanced at him now, eyes hard. To who? He was the one who gave the orders. He stepped back, took a photo of the wall, then crouched beside her. You won't be cleaning this alone again. We're hiring a maintenance crew to handle exterior tasks like this. You'll stay inside, where you're supposed to be. She narrowed her eyes. You're not just talking, are you?
No, he said.
I'm not. The rest of the day moved steadily. Wendy met with 2 candidates for the open positions. One didn't show. The other, a woman named Liana, calm and confident, walked through the building with Wendy, asking sharp questions about supply access and scheduling. Quentin watched from a distance. When they returned, Wendy gave him a nod. She's hired. Before leaving, Quentin gathered the team, those still on shift, in the main hallway just outside the break room. I'll be back tomorrow, he said. And every week after until we stabilize. I won't be hiding behind reports anymore. If something's wrong, you tell Wendy. If it doesn't get fixed, you tell me. He looked around the room. No one applauded.
But several people met his eyes this time.
Miguel gave a short nod. Dana folded her arms, but didn't look away. As they dispersed, Quentin turned to Wendy. I know this is just the start.
Yeah, she said.
But it's the right one. He left the building as the evening shift rolled in, the parking lot now half full. The air was cooler, dusk settling in. For the first time in a long while, he didn't feel like an outsider in his own company. Tomorrow would bring more work, but tonight, he knew exactly where he belonged. Quentin returned the following Monday without ceremony, pulling his sedan into the side lot just before sunrise. He carried no folder, no laptop, just a plain black thermos and a notebook tucked under one arm. The building was quiet, the kind of silence that held its breath. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed faintly, and the scent of disinfectant still clung to the air. He pushed open the back door, passing through the break room where a few employees were seated in scattered silence. Most glanced up, uncertain if they were supposed to greet him or keep their heads down. Quentin nodded once and moved on, finding Wendy already at the front desk, her jacket still on, keys looped around her wrist. You're early, he said. I didn't sleep much, she replied. We've got a new hire starting today. I need to walk her through the supply stations. He fell into step beside her as they made their way down the corridor toward the janitor's closet. The hallway still held visible scuffs and a few cracked tiles. When they reached the storage room, Wendy pulled open the door and stepped inside. The new vacuum units were lined up along the back wall, all tagged and barcoded, but the shelving still sagged in places and the lighting flickered whenever the door moved. Supply deliveries late again, she muttered. Driver said the dispatch center got the address wrong. Was that local or corporate? Quentin asked. Local. I already filed a complaint with distribution. He leaned against the doorframe. You want me to follow up? I think it sends the wrong message if I run to you every time something slips. He held her gaze for a moment, then nodded once. Fair. They stepped back out just as Miguel approached, pulling on gloves. His eyes looked clearer, but his posture was still tight, like his body hadn't decided whether to trust the change. I clocked in early, Miguel said, not making eye contact. I wanted to finish that third-floor stairwell before traffic builds. You're not scheduled till 7:30, Wendy said, checking her watch. I know, but the new girl's shadowing me. I figured it'd go smoother if I got the routine started first. Quentin stepped forward. What's her name? Liana. She's waiting by the lockers. Quiet. I'll check in with her, Wendy said. Miguel, don't do more than you're scheduled. I mean it. I'm not trying to get extra hours, he said quickly. I just don't want her to think we're disorganized. Quentin watched him walk off, then turned to Wendy. He's still carrying it. He doesn't know how not to, she replied. By mid-morning, Liana had settled into her routine. She moved with calm precision, taking cues from Miguel without hovering. Quentin observed from a distance as she wiped down the stair railings, her face unreadable. When she took a short break near the vending machines, he walked over. "Liana, right?" She nodded.
"I'm Quentin."
"I just wanted to say welcome." She hesitated, then said, "Thank you. I didn't expect to meet you this soon." "I try not to be a stranger," he said. "How's it going so far?" "Fine," she replied. "Miguel's been patient. I just need to learn the layout." He nodded. "If anything doesn't make sense, speak up. You're not expected to know everything on day one." She looked at him, then added, "I heard what happened last week. With Russ." He waited. "Places don't usually clean house like that," she said. "Most just wait it out, hope people quit on their own." "They shouldn't have to," he said. "Especially not here." A few minutes later, he stepped outside to take a call from the regional HR director. A discrepancy had popped up in the payroll system. 3 employees, including Samuel, had been coded as part-time despite consistently working full weeks. It meant they'd missed out on benefits. "I want that corrected immediately," Quentin said. "Retroactively."
"No dirás."
"We'll need to verify with their supervisors," the director replied. "No, you won't," he said. "I've seen the schedules myself. Make the changes." He hung up, took a breath, and went back inside. As he walked through the corridor toward the staff room, he passed by the glass wall that overlooked the parking lot. A man in a maintenance uniform was leaning against one of the delivery vans, speaking on his phone. His voice carried through the open side door. "Yeah, it's the new girl. The quiet one. Give her a month. She'll be on sick leave or crying in the break room like the last one." Quentin stopped. "Don't know why they hire those types. No spine. You can just tell." The man laughed once, then added, "She's got that look, like she's already waiting to fail." Quentin stepped outside without a word and walked straight toward him. "Name?" he asked. The man looked up, lowering his phone.
"What?"
"Your name."
"Martin."
"Maintenance." "Why?" "You're done here." Martin's brow furrowed. "What are you talking about?" "I heard everything. That kind of disrespect has no place here. You're off the property in 5 minutes, or I'll have security escort you." "You serious? Do I look like I'm joking?" Martin opened his mouth again, then seemed to think better of it. He pulled off his gloves, tossed them into the van, and walked to his car without another word. Quentin returned inside and found Wendy near the front desk, flipping through the delivery logs. "Martin's gone," he said. She looked up sharply. "What happened?" "He made a comment about Liana. Ugly. Personal. I won't tolerate it." She didn't ask for details. Only nodded once. By lunchtime, the building felt different again. Not relaxed, but steadier. More alert. Miguel and Liana worked in rhythm now, their movements synced without needing to speak. Dana coordinated with a vendor in the loading bay. Samuel posted a new safety checklist in the break room, freshly laminated and color-coded. Quentin sat with Wendy in the back office, a whiteboard now mounted behind her chair. It listed every position, every shift, and every vacancy still pending. 2 names were circled in red positions still unfilled. She tapped her pen against the board. "I've got one more interview tomorrow. If she works out, we'll only be 1 short."
He studied the list.
"What's the biggest gap right now?" "Overnight coverage. We've been running too lean. Jesse's still out, and Samuel can't keep pulling doubles." "I'll authorize a temp if we don't fill it by Friday," he said. "Short term. But only if you approve the candidate." She sat back, arms crossed. "You really mean to keep showing up like this?" "I don't want to be the guy who disappears after the damage is cleaned up," he said. "This isn't about fixing a broken pipe. It's about making sure the water never leaks again." She gave a slow nod. "Then you'll need to see what this place looks like at 3 in the morning. That's when it really shows." "I'll make time," he said. A quiet knock came at the door. Dana stepped in, holding a clipboard. Payroll adjustments came through. Miguel's already been paid out. Samuel's benefits are active. Jesse's leave paperwork's processed. Wendy took the clipboard, scanned it, and nodded. Thanks.
Danalingad.
Also, Liana asked if she could transfer to nights. She says the quieter hours suit her better. Wendy looked to Quentin, then back to Dana. Tell her we'll make it happen. As the afternoon waned and the first wave of the evening crew arrived, Quentin stood in the doorway to the break room, watching people filter in. No one asked where Russ had gone. No one spoke his name.
They didn't need to.
Wendy walked up beside him, arms loosely folded. You think they trust it yet? She asked. Not yet, he said. But you can feel it. They're starting to believe maybe they don't have to brace for the worst every shift. She looked around the room, then said, It's a long road. I've got time, Quentin said. That night, he stayed until the last of the floors were mopped and the last supplies tucked away. The hallway lights dimmed. Workers left in pairs or alone, slipping out into the cooling night. Liana nodded to him as she passed. Miguel gave a short wave. Wendy stayed behind, reviewing schedules under the dull glow of her desk lamp. Quentin took a final walk through the building, past the stairwells, past the closets, past the wall where the graffiti had once been.
Clean now. Silent.
He didn't feel like a visitor anymore. He felt like an owner who had finally come home.